ونبينا ورسولنا وحبيبنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأمته وسلم. اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد طب القلوب ودوائها وعافية الأبدان وشفائها ونور الأبصار وضيائها وعلى آله وأصحابه وبارك وسلم. Alhamdulillah, once again Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala has allowed us to be present, to be hadir in His auspicious home, the Masjid of Allah, the Bayt of Allah. We begin by giving thanks to Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala and doing shukr to Him for allowing us to be here once again. And we begin by sending infinite and countless salutations and salam upon our Master, the final Prophet of Allah, Khatamun Nabiyyin, Sayyiduna Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, who is our intercessor on the Day of Judgment. As I mentioned last time, Shaykh Abdul Rahman al-Zayli'i rahimahumullah, he says, وَذِكْرُ حَبِيبُ اللَّهِ قُوتُ قُلُوبِنَا وَفِيهِ شِفَاء قَلْبِي وَفِيهِ تَمَتُّعِي. That in the zikr of the Habib, the beloved of Allah, Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, is the contentment of our hearts, is shifa for us, is the cure for all of our illnesses, because He is the cure sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He is the shifa. If anyone needs any kind of betterment, whether it be a physical cure or a spiritual cure, a mental cure, a psychological cure, shifa for any of his illnesses, then the only way that we can attain shifa is through the Habib sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The way that we can attain the shifa from Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, cure from Allah Azza wa Jal, is to go to His most beloved Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Speaking about this, as we know, the great Sahabi Sayyidina Abu Qatada radiyallahu anhu, during one battle, he thought that one of the enemies of Islam were going to attack Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. My dear son brothers, whenever something happens spontaneously or instantly, we have a knee-jerk reaction. We have a spontaneous reaction to that. We have such a reaction which is automatic. For example, say if this cup of water was to fall off the table, then it would be my automatic reaction without thinking to extend my hand and try to catch that. It was the automatic reaction, it was the natural reaction without thinking of Sayyidina Abu Qatada radiyallahu anhu to defend Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. This was his automatic reaction, without any thought process, without any need of cognitive thoughts. He automatically put his eye in the way for defense of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He put his eye in the way to protect Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and one object struck him in his eye and his eye came out of his head. And it's very famous, many of us may know, that Sayyidina Abu Qatada radiyallahu anhu, he humbly went to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam with his eye. And as I was mentioning, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, He is the shifa, He is the cure. And look at the aqidah of the Sahaba Ikram. Whenever they needed anything, hatta even if the eye comes out of their head, they would go to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. They knew that this is the way that we will attain success, to come to the feet of the Habib sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So Sayyidina Abu Qatada radiyallahu anhu, he came to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam with his eye that had come out of his head. And he showed this to Huzur alayhi salatu wasalam. Then Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam placed his blessed saliva on the eye of Sayyidina Abu Qatada and the blessed head of Sayyidina Abu Qatada, and placed it back into the socket of Sayyidina Abu Qatada radiyallahu anhu. And our master Sayyidina Abu Qatada radiyallahu anhu, he said, my eyesight was so good, it was even better than it was before. Subhanallah. This proves that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, He is the shifa, He is the cure. As Shaykh Abdul Rahman al-Zayli'i says, وَذِكْرُ حَبِيبُ اللَّهِ قُوتُ قُلُوبِنَا. This is the satisfaction of our hearts. وَفِيهِ شِفَاء قَلْبِي. And in it is the shifa, is the cure for our hearts. وَفِيهِ تَمَتُّعِي. And in it is the contentment, is the qarar of our hearts. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So going on to speak about the topic of today, the great Sahabi of Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, one of the most famous companions of the best of all creation, Khairu Khalqillah, Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And this companion is Sayyidina Khalid bin Walid radiyallahu anhu. And when we talk about Sayyidina Khalid, some thoughts come to mind. And the first of the thoughts that come to mind is shuja'ah, is bravery, is quwwah, is himma, is doing mujahada fi sabilillah, These are some of the thoughts that come to the mind when we think about Sayyidina Khalid bin Walid radiallahu anhu. And this is enough to display and to show the strength of this individual, to show the courage of this individual, that just by taking his name, these thoughts of power come to mind. These thoughts of quwwah come to mind just by taking his name radiallahu anhu. So, speaking about some of the incidents that took place in the life of Sayyidina Khalid radiallahu anhu, because there are many topics, many events that we can speak about. We'll speak about some of those incidents in some details. So after Sayyidina Khalid bin Walid radiallahu anhu had accepted Islam, he became a pillar of strength and bravery for the Muslims. He was the commander of the Islamic armies that went out for jihad fi sabilillah. Even before Sayyidina Khalid had accepted Islam, he was known for his strength and his bravery and his great tactical mind. His great mind of the tactics regarding military advancements and wars. He had a great mind of how to fight. He was a great thinker. So after accepting Islam, after Sayyidina Khalid bin Walid, Sayyidina Khalid radiallahu anhu accepted Islam, he became the leader of the Muslims in battle, in Mujahada. And up until the passing of Sayyidina Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu, he remained as in the time of the caliphate of when Sayyidina Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu, when he was the Khalifa, when he was physically alive, then during this time Sayyidina Khalid bin Walid radiallahu anhu, he was the leader of the Islamic army. He was the commander. He was the chief of the armies. So when Sayyidina Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu physically left this world radiallahu ta'ala anhu, then Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu, as we know, he became the Khalifa and he was the Amir al-Mu'mineen. So when Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu, he became the Amir al-Mu'mineen radiallahu ta'ala anhu, then he demoted Sayyidina Khalid bin Walid from the position of commander and chief to a different position. And there were many hikam for this reason. There were many wisdoms for this reason, for this demotion of Sayyidina Khalid. This wasn't due to any ma'azallah deficiency in Sayyidina Khalid. It wasn't any personal difference between Sayyidina Umar and Sayyidina Khalid. There was a great hikmah for the advancement of Islam. There were great wisdoms for the spreading and tabligh of Islam. So when Sayyidina Umar, he demoted Sayyidina Khalid bin Walid from commanding chief, from the commander of the army to a different position, Sayyidina Khalid, he wholeheartedly and happily accepted this decision. He was very happy in this decision and he accepted this very happily. There was no dispute or no conflict between anyone. This was a hikmah, this was a wisdom to spread Islam even more to more and more people. And what were the reasons for this? So Sayyidina Khalid bin Walid radiallahu anhu, during the battle of Mu'tah, he broke 9 swords during the battle in fighting the kuffar. 9 swords he broke whilst fighting the enemies of Islam. Subhanallah. And he was a very brave man. He used to go and look for shahada. He had a great tamanna and desire to be shaheed fi sabilillah for Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He desired this very much in him. So Sayyidina Umar, he wanted to protect Sayyidina Khalid radiallahu anhu. He wanted to utilize him and he wanted all of his skills to be utilized in the advancement of Islam. He had many skills in trade, in distributing mal, in the tactics, in ilm. He had many skills. So Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu, he wanted to vitalize and use these skills where he could. So he wanted to protect the life of Sayyidina Khalid radiallahu anhu. Another reason was, during the time when Sayyidina Khalid radiallahu anhu, he was the commanding chief and the leader of the army, then he defeated the Ahlul Sham, the people of Sham, Syria, and the Iranis, and they were very scared of him. They were very scared of him. Just by hearing his name, they would become scared. And they would be scared to come in front of him. Also, Sayyidina Khalid radiallahu anhu, he was so successful in battle with them that they all admitted and they all knew that he was the successful one and they could not defeat him. Also the Romans, they also were aware that Sayyidina Khalid radiallahu anhu was a very strong man. And they actually thought that the name Khalid was an army. They actually thought Sayyidina Khalid was so powerful, so strong. They thought that the name Khalid, this was an army within itself. That Sayyidina Khalid, he himself was an army. They actually thought that due to his successes and his strength. So they thought that if Khalid, if he is no longer there, if Sayyidina Khalid, if he is removed from this position of commander and chief, then the Muslims would not be strong anymore. They would not be able to fight. So Sayyidina Umar, to dispel this misconception, to remove this misconception, he demoted Sayyidina Khalid to another position to show that all of the Muslims are brave and strong. And in place of Sayyidina Khalid, the commander and the chief of the Muslim army was appointed was Sayyidina Abu Ubaidah bin Jarrah radiallahu anhu. And there was another hikmah in this. Because Sayyidina Khalid radiallahu anhu, he was so brave and so strong, then the kuffar, they were very reluctant and they couldn't go in front of him to speak with him, to go and get to know about Islam from him. They were very reluctant, they were very scared of him because he was so strong. And Abu Ubaidah bin Jarrah radiallahu anhu, he was very soft-hearted. He had a very soft heart. So Sayyidina Umar thought that if Abu Ubaidah bin Jarrah radiallahu anhu came in place, he could do da'wah and show the akhlaq of the Muslims more easier to these people. And also Sayyidina Khalid radiallahu anhu, he did not have one handspan on his body. He himself says in one hadith, in one of his sayings, that there was not one handspan on his body, one handspan's length, that he didn't have a scar from a sword, from a bow or from a spear. There was not one handspan on his body that he did not have a scar from battle. This is how much he would battle in the way of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. He would battle for the pleasure of Allah and Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So as I mentioned, Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu, he wanted to preserve and protect Sayyidina Khalid. So he demoted him from this position. And he loved to go into dangerous situations. He himself would go into dangerous situations to fight the kuffar. He loved the fact that he wanted the thought to become shaheed fi sabilillah for Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Sayyidina Umar, he wanted to protect him from this. He wanted to protect Sayyidina Umar, so he demoted him from his position. So he would listen to the commander, who was Sayyidina Abu Ubaidah bin Jarrah. So if Sayyidina Abu Ubaidah told him not to go to a certain place, not to fight a certain place, then Sayyidina Khalid would listen to him and do his ita'at, and he wouldn't go and put himself in danger. So there were many hikam why Sayyidina Umar, he demoted Sayyidina Khalid and he placed Sayyidina Abu Ubaidah bin Jarrah as the leader. Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam in a summary said, Khalid, sayf min suyufillah. That Sayyidina Khalid radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he is a sword from the swords of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. And we can see his strength and his bravery. One time, a priest gave him a poison to drink. And Sayyidina Khalid radiallahu anhu, he wanted to show the kuffar that us Muslims, we are not afraid of death. And we have tawakkul so much in Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. And we believe that whoever Allah Ta'ala chooses to live, he will live. And whoever Allah Ta'ala chooses to leave this world, he will leave this world. So to show the kuffar this, to show the disbelievers this iman, he drank this poison in front of the priest. And this poison, this would instantly kill people. Instantly just kill people. So the priest, he became happy, and now he thought that he's defeated Khalid. And he's standing waiting to see Khalid pass away. Then just a little bit of sweat came on the forehead of Sayyidina Khalid radiallahu anhu. And after that, he was completely fine. Nothing happened to him. And this priest, he became shocked. He said that we can never defeat the Muslims. He became completely mind blown. He was completely shocked what he saw. Then he began to feel the wahshat, he began to feel haiba of Sayyidina Khalid and the Muslims radiallahu anhu. Also, it was a statement in the summary which is attributed to Sayyidina Khalid, that some kuffar, they were very happy about having showing their blood from battle, that they would have blood on them. They loved showing blood. Even hatta, there was a tradition in the previous times. There was a tradition in those times that they would dip their fingers in blood when they would be making an oath, making like an agreement between the different tribes. They would dip their fingers in blood and rub it on their faces. So they enjoyed the fact of having blood on them. So Sayyidina Khalid radiallahu anhu, he said to the kuffar that we are those people, we drink blood. We are those people, we drink blood, and we heard that your blood is the most tastiest around. We heard that your blood is the most tastiest around, as a way to threaten the kuffar, subhanallah. This is the strength of Sayyidina Khalid radiallahu ta'ala anhu. So this great man of Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala, he would always lead the armies, he would put himself first. He would always be looking for shahadat, for martyrdom, for Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And he was a great man of himmah and taqwa. And if we look at some other incidents, so my dear sons and brothers, when we learn the lives of these great individuals, when we look at the great incidents that took place in the lives of those such as Sayyidina Khalid bin Walid radiallahu anhu, Sayyidina Khalid, all of the Sahaba Ikram, when we learn these stories of ishq and the love of Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala, the ishq of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, the love for good deeds, the abstinence of sins, then we should try to implement this mindset into our own lives. We should hear these waqi'at, these incidents, and we should try to implement the lessons that we learn from this into our own lives. Then inshallah we'll be successful. These are those individuals, the Sahaba Ikram, that Allah Ta'ala says in the Quran, radiyallahu anhum wa radu anhu, that they are pleased with Allah and Allah is pleased with them. Allah Ta'ala has given them such a station, such a rank, that Allah Ta'ala is saying Allah Azza wa Jal is pleased with them and they are pleased with Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, subhanallah. And this is in the Quran, the eternal kalam of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. This is the kalam of Allah Azza wa Jal, which will never have tabdeel, will never change. So if you want to be successful, if you want Allah to be pleased with us, if you want to attain Jannah, if we want to be in Jannatul Firdaus bi rahmatillah, then we must follow the lives of the Sahaba Ikram. We must implement the blessed lessons that we learn from their lives and implement it into our own lives. And alhamdulillah, us brothers, we're here, we're learning, we're studying the life of Sayyidina Khalid. But those people who are not here, they're not listening, then we need to also pass this knowledge out to them as well. We need to also, whatever we learn, we should go out and also spread these lessons that we learn to them, so they benefit also. We should not forget about our Muslim brothers and sisters and children. We should pass the lesson to them as well. Whatever good thing we learn, we can remember, we should pass it forward to them as well. And if you can't remember, these videos, often they're recorded, or if you find any Sunni alim, Sunni mufti who is explaining these pearls, then we should get our children to listen to these speeches as well. So my dear Islamic brothers, Sayyidina Khalid radiallahu ta'ala anhu, when he was on his bed, when it came to the time of leaving this world, to use the word deathbed isn't appropriate for Sayyidina Khalid, but when he was leaving this world and he was laying on his bed, radiallahu anhu, then he saw that it is now the time to leave this world. And he said a historic line, very powerful qawl he said. And he said that, "O death, you've come to me now. I've been searching for you in the battlefield for many, many years. I've been searching for you, O death, for many, many years in the battlefield. I've been looking for you. And now you come to me when I'm on my bed, when I'm weak, now you come to me." Subhanallah. Look at the taqwa. Look at the iman of Sayyidina Khalid radiallahu ta'ala. Look at our states. That it's a little bit cold outside. We say to our children, no, you don't have to go to madrasa, don't worry. He's got a little bit of a runny nose. Don't worry, you don't have to go to madrasa, don't worry. You can play as much as you want on the PlayStation. You can watch as many short videos as you want. You know, you can do that as much as you want, but don't go to madrasa. This kind of mindset, this weakens the minds of our children. This gives the impression to our children that this is something that you can choose to do when you feel like it. This gives the impression to our children that like, it's not so important to go. But you can see those people who are steadfast in coming to the masjid. Even from my own experience, when you teach in the madaris, when you're teaching children, teaching even men or young boys, when we're teaching, those people who are most consistent have istiqamah, regardless of their difficulties, regardless of their situation, they have that himmah and strength that Sayyiduna Khalid radiallahu anhu, and they still come to the masjid, they still come to learn, they tend to be the best students. And they tend to go the furthest afterwards. My dear brothers, we need to develop our mindsets to become stronger people. And we can do this by learning the lives of the Sahaba Ikram and learning the life of Sayyidina Khalid radiallahu ta'ala anhu. We need to become stronger individuals. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said in the summary that a stronger mu'min is better indillah to Allah than a weaker mu'min. And there's khair, there's goodness in both of them. So a stronger Muslim, this is more beloved to Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala than a weaker Muslim. We should become strong individuals. Mentally we should become strong. And one way, this would be a very detailed and separate topic, but since we're speaking about it, we can speak about it for some time inshallah. I have a background in psychology myself, so I know the importance of mental health and developing your mind. My dear Islamic brothers, we live in such a time whereby we are being exposed to all different types of information regularly. Sometimes happy news, sometimes sad news, sometimes strange news, sometimes lagh. Sometimes you see something, you think, what have I just seen? Is that humanity? You see some strange individuals. You're seeing all of these kind of. Sometimes you're just watching animals play. So just like, for example, I'm saying, you're seeing all different types of information within the space of 1 or 2 minutes. When you're flicking through these videos, for example, when you're using social media, you're looking at all different types of information. So all of these kind of stimuli, all of these kind of sensory information, this is going into your mind, this is going into your aql, and this is disturbing your mind. This is ruining your attention spans. People are not able to concentrate for long periods of time. If we look now, short videos, 30 seconds, 1 minute, you can flick to the next. People, they can't maintain their concentration on a certain thing for a long period of time. And this is detrimental. This is dangerous. Because how are people going to open the books of fiqh, the books of ilm, and spend time studying these books if they're not able to concentrate? So my dear Islamic brothers, also, we're seeing very extreme sensory information. People are playing games, people are watching things which involve blood, involve damaging other people, hurting other people, and this is becoming normal to them. They don't, when they see a real life, like for example in Gaza, we see our Muslim brothers and sisters, their limbs are coming off in very difficult states. When they see this, they don't really feel that empathy as much. They don't really feel the sorrow for them as much, because they've become desensitized to these kind of things. So we need to look after our mind first of all. If we want to become strong, we need to look very carefully at what we are putting into our hearts and minds. We need to be careful that we're not watching TV too much. There's one thing, ilmun nafi', as Maulana Ali will tell you, ilmun nafi'. This is what we are looking for, ilmun nafi', that ilm which benefits us. Then there's ilm ghayru nafi', there's ilm which doesn't benefit us. For example, the lives of celebrities, useless stats of sportsmen. This is information that will not benefit us in any way. So, by watching TV, short videos, for example, these are things which are weakening our minds, because we are learning that ilm which is ghayru nafi' is not beneficial to us. And we're wasting the energy that we have, and this is weakening us. This is weakening our eyesight, our minds, our aql, our intellect, our ability to concentrate, our physically, the activity, the neuronal activity that takes part in the brain, this damages this. So my dear son brothers, we need to come back to good information, good stimuli. And the best information is the dhikr of Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala. We should be putting this into our minds regularly, looking at speeches, attending majalis of dhikr, putting ourselves in good places where we're learning and hearing good things. This will make us stronger mentally. This is the psychological aspect. We need to look after our mental states, very much so, especially living in this country where there's tension, depression, where there's anxieties, where there's loneliness. Then we need to look after our mental health very much so, and look after the people around us as well. I'm just going into very briefly. I can go into much detail about this, but inshallah what I've said will hopefully be enough for you guys to think about. And also, as we're speaking about Sayyiduna Khalid, this is the reason I'm speaking about strength and health. We must also look after our physical health. We must exercise, my dear Samra. This is very important. We must be strong people. We shouldn't let the disbelievers look at us and see Muslims as lazy, weak people, as treacherous people, as deceitful people. Now, unfortunately, you can see in the Asian community, most of us were taking part in false insurance claims and dodgy things. This shouldn't be the case. We should be strong and pure people, people that work with our hands. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said in the summary, our master said, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam in the summary said that the best wealth that a man can earn is the wealth that he earns with his own hands. And Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam said in the summary that the person who works all day and he comes home at night very tired, then may that night be a night of forgiveness for him, a night of maghfirah for him. So we must be hard workers, my dear son brothers. Become strong, physically strong individuals. People of ghairah, people who work hard. We need to develop ourselves. Since we're speaking about Sayyiduna Khalid, this is a very important thing to think about. So my dear Islam brothers, we learned some points about the blessed life of Sayyidina Khalid radiallahu ta'ala anhu. So we should try to, whatever good points that we learn, we should try to implement this into our own lives, insha'Allah ta'ala. Are we going to take questions? Yeah, inshallah. Generally, if anyone has any questions, inshallah, you can feel free to ask me, inshallah, regarding Sayyidina Khalid or just generally, inshallah. How did he come to accept Islam? So very good question. So Sayyidina Khalid radiallahu anhu, as you know, before he was fighting against the Muslims. He was taking part in the armies fighting against the Muslims when he didn't know about Islam. Then after seeing the akhlaq of the Muslimin, seeing their bravery, because he himself was a brave person, he loved to be a brave, courageous individual. So when he saw the akhlaq of the Muslimin, he began to delve in and learn about what Islam actually teaches. It's very lengthy, very lengthy, just summarize. And he began to love the Muslimin and the strength of the Muslims, the akhlaq of the Muslims. And eventually over time, he accepted Islam. And there's one point you reminded me, I forgot to mention. Sayyidina Khalid radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he passed away in Syria. He passed away in Syria. And I have the exact location here. So he's buried in Homs in Syria, in the Khalid bin Walid Masjid. And he passed away on the 28th of Jamad al-Awwal, 21 after Hijri. So that's some good information to know as well, inshallah. Barakallah. Ji. What was the cause of his death? I don't actually fully know the cause of death, but as far as I've studied, he passed away at home in Syria at that time. He passed away in Syria, and he passed away not during a battle, but the actual sabab, I'm not sure, maybe it was just natural, or it could be natural, or it could be maybe due to the excessive battles that he took place in. Wallahu a'lam, I'm not sure, inshallah. If anyone has any questions even regarding the fiqh or any fiqhi questions or anything they want to ask, just generally social questions, do feel free to ask. Okay, inshallah, I think there's no questions, so I think we'll make dua now, inshallah. Everyone raise your hands. Allah Ta'ala, He says in the Quran, Udu'uni astajib lakum. Allah Ta'ala says, make dua to me, I will accept your dua. So everyone keep this in mind and make dua, inshallah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa afdalu salawati ala Sayyidina wa Nabiyyina wa Rasulina wa Habibina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa ummatihi wa sallim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina wa Maulana Muhammadin wa sahbihi wa sallim. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammadin bi'adadi rahmatika fi kulli waqtin wa hin wa sallim. Allahumma rabbana atina آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. اللهم افتح علينا حكمتك وانشر علينا رحمتك يا ذا الجلال والإكرام. يا الله يا رحمن يا رحيم يا كريم. اللهم تقبل هذا المجلس برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم أدخلنا في جنة فردوسك بجوار سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم بجاه سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. اللهم نسألك عشقك وعشق سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. اللهم أسألك جنة الفردوس معه يا رب العالمين. اللهم احفظنا من كل بلاء. اللهم أدخلنا في جنة فردوسك في قدمين شريفين سيدنا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. اللهم تقبلنا يا رب العالمين. اللهم احفظنا من كل غم. اللهم احفظنا من كل صعب. اللهم احفظنا من كل ضعف. اللهم احفظنا من كل هم يا رب العالمين. اللهم أعوذ بك من الهم والحزن. اللهم يا أرحم الراحمين ارحمنا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم يا كريم يا رحمن أكرمنا بكرمك يا رب العالمين. يا الله يا رحمن يا رحيم يا كريم احفظنا يا ربي يا Allah. We ask you for the sake of Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam that you accept this majlis from us. Ya Allah, Ya Allah, before we stand, Ya Allah, forgive us for all of our sins, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Ya Allah, before we all stand, Ya Allah, enter us all into Jannat al-Firdaus bighayri hisab bijiwari Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Bijahi Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Ya Allah, we present to you the wasila of our master Sayyidina Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Ya Allah, for his sake, Ya Allah, make us all people who enter Jannat al-Firdaus, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Ya Allah, bless us with the love of Sayyidina Khalid radiyallahu anhu. Ya Allah, for his sake, give us strength, Ya Rabbi. Give us strength over the shaitan. Ya Allah, save us from the shar and wasawis of shaitan, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Ya Allah, for the sake of Sayyidina Khalid, Ya Rabbi, give us the power, the quwwah to overcome and destroy and defeat the shaitan, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Ya Allah Azza wa Jal, everyone who's watching online, Ya Allah, fulfill all of their lawful desires. Ya Allah, all of us who are here, Ya Allah, fulfill all of our lawful desires for the sake of Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, for the sake of Sayyidina Khalid radiyallahu anhu. Ya Allah, for the sake of Sayyidina Khalid, enlighten our faces, give us the jazba to serve Islam. Ya Allah, give us quwwah in our hearts for the sake of Sayyidina Khalid radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. Give us strength in our minds, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Give us strength in our heart. Give us strength in our body, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Make us physically strong. Make us mentally strong. Make us psychologically strong. Ya Allah, make us strong in all facets and departments of our lives, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Ya Allah Azza wa Jal, bless us all of halal rizq tayyib, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Ya Rabbal Alameen, bless us all of easy halal tayyib jobs, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Ya Allah, all of the Muslim brothers and sisters who are not yet married but they want to get married, Ya Allah, bless them all of salih, pious, hasina spouses, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Ya Rabbal Alameen, bless them all of pious spouses, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Ya Allah, all of the Muslims that have asked me for dua, Ya Allah, fulfill all of their lawful desires. Ya Allah, all of the Muslims that want to get married, all the Muslim brothers and sisters, Ya Allah, fulfill all of their lawful desires. Give them pious spouses. Bi afiyatik. Allahumma as'aluka al-afiyah. Allahumma as'aluka al-afiyah. Allahumma as'aluka al-afiyah. Allahumma arhamna, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Ya Allah Azza wa Jal, reward Masjid Quba for holding these series of speeches, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Ya Allah, whoever was involved in setting up the speeches in any way, Ya Allah, give them ajr fi darain. Ya Allah, enter them all into Jannat al-Firdaus bighayri hisab. Ya Allah, bless all of our wives, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Ya Allah, bless them all with sayhat, with afiyat, with rahmat, with hikmat, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Ya Allah, bless all of our wives with entry into Jannat al-Firdaus bighayri hisab bijay Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Ya Allah, bless all of our families with entry into Jannat al-Firdaus bighayri hisab. Ya Rabbal Alameen, shower your rahmah upon us. Ya Allah, Ya Allahumma ya qadi al-hajat اقضي حاجاتنا بجاه سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم بجاه سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. Ya Rabbal Alameen. Ya Allah, you know our states. Ya Allah, you know, Ya Allah, you are aware of everything that we want. Ya Allah, fulfill all of our lawful desires, Ya Rabbal Alameen. Allahumma as'aluka al-jannah. Allahumma as'aluka al-jannah. Allahumma as'aluka al-jannah. Allahumma akhtim lana bi khair. Allahumma akhtim lana bi khair. Allahumma akhtim lana bi khair. Allahumma nas'aluka husn al-khatimah bijay Sayyidina Muhammad wal Fatimah. Ya Allah Azza wa Jal, enter us all into Jannat al-Firdaus. Wa sallallahu ala Muhammad wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. La ilaha illa anta subhanaka inni kuntu minaz zalimin. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.